Hello, Eamon here, and welcome to yet another Millwall No One Likes Us Talking special. Today we welcome two people to the show. Later we will hear from Stan Godwin. He will reflect upon his involvement in our first guest project. But first up is a man that has faced many challenges in his life's journey, but through self-determination he has gained success in the world of media and become a role model within the community that is London. He is a Millwall fan and has been prominent in a number of events associated with the club over the years. He also stands up for change for the greater good. It's time to welcome Quince Garcia. Hello.
Hi there. Hi, it's good to speak to you. Thank you for inviting me onto your show. I'm truly honoured. Thank you.
It's a pleasure that you could come along. I think many people know a bit about you. Not everyone knows you. And I think it would really be nice to know how you became a Millwall fan in the first place.
My first introduction to Millwall was when I was 6, and I went with a family friend at the time, and his name was Tox. And then after that, I started realising that a lot of people in the area supported the club, and I grew up in Camberwell. Yeah, it kind of spurred from there, during the 80s. But I didn't really grasp being a true supporter of the club, just because I wanted a little bit of glory. So my uncle, Man United fan, a lot of fans will know my uncle, named Stan Garcia, and everybody knows he's a Man United fan. But I always used to check the results for Millwall, and I used to always go up to the old den and hang about with my friends. Someone in particular who I would go to the den with when I was a kid, people like Danny Cooney, Danny Barber, they all know them. And those were people I would go to the club with. So supporting Millwall is not always just been about just football. It's also been about the community aspect of it as well, just being around those people, So that was my kind of introduction to Millwall, just growing up around Camberwell Green, really, amongst a lot of working class folks that showed a passion for supporting their local team, which I fell into as well.
Great stuff. And of course, you had an uncle, Norman Garcia, who was and still is a proud Millwall fan. He must have
Correct.
Influenced you.
He did influence me as well, because I always, I growing up as well, I always found him a little bit strange. That's an understatement, I imagine, to a lot of Millwall fans when I say that. But he always intrigued me, just because I loved his attitude of being his own man, and being his own person.
Yeah.
And then, once I've dug deeper into who he was, when I first kind of grew to become conscious of him, he was this. I just knew him as Uncle Norman, the man that loved church. But then, and then as later on as it got older, things started to reveal he's a very well known Millwall fan, and there's lots of stories that came out. My uncle is definitely one of my idols, and I imagine he's probably a lot of the fans' idol as well. So he's somebody definitely I look up to and admire.
I think you were prominent in raising funds. His pal, Ian Garwood, sometimes known as Tiny, rung the change to get monies to support him in the latter days, sadly, before he passed away. Well done to you there. Great stuff.
Yeah, I think the fans also have to be recognised as well, because when Ian died, it was such a sad affair. But I think without the fans, who were showing so much love and respect, it was, I don't think the family would have got through it. And my uncle, as much as he put on a brave face, I could really see that it was really affecting him, because he was really, as everybody knows, them two were like, they were best mates at the ground and off the ground, you know. So, and you know, believe it or not, they didn't really socialise that much outside of the ground. It was when they came to Millwall, you know.
Yeah, they were like a horse and cart at Millwall. You couldn't separate them.
So yeah, thanks to the fans as well for their huge support and showing lots of admiration for Tiny. It was very humbling.
Yeah. But let's talk a bit more about yourself. I mean, you've had a challenging upbringing. There's no doubt about that. I've read quite a few bits about you, but through that self-determination, you've achieved quite a lot. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, well, so I grew up like a lot of people in a very quite poor community in Camberwell, where you know crime was rife. People didn't have a lot of money. You know, people had low income jobs. You know, and they got by. You know, we all got by. And I think you know a lot of that has an influence on your behaviour. You know, and how you see the world. Yeah, like many people with similar backgrounds to mine. You know, I grew up with a dad who was always in and out of prison, and you know my mum's worked really hard and you know grew us up practically on her own, and so you know that had a bit of an effect on me. And then growing up, it was tough because I think you know I was a bit conflicted because you know I did suffer with low self-esteem, and you know I didn't have much confidence, and you know didn't value myself much. And I think that had a huge impact on how I viewed the world. And I growing up in a home that had its troubles, made me resort to what was the easiest thing, which was crime. You know, and I committed crime. I was in a gang for a little while in the area of Camberwell, as I said, and I think what I did was I did a lot of dealing. There was a lot of there were some violent acts involved as well, where people wanted to kill me, and lots of reasons to want to get at people as well. The thing that helped me to overcome all of that really was when I became a dad. And I just said to myself, I realised I was in and out of prison, and I just said to myself, do I really want to follow the footsteps of my dad? And realised like how that was having an impact on me. And I just thought to myself, do I want that same thing for my kids? And I just started to write about all of these, about how I was really feeling. And I started to realise I'm writing poetry, and then I started to write scripts, and as I started to do this, it just gave me more of an uplift. And then and I started to really take note of how people were communicating with me and how I was communicating with other people as well. And I started to really examine how I was feeling about myself. And the only thing I could really see for my future was death, prison, and drugs, and no career. And I just thought, actually, I'm not actually setting any. I'm a stereotypical of example of what is bad in my community. I'm just that. And once I realised that, my brain went crazy, and I just thought I need to change. And on my last time I went to prison, I came out and I decided that I'm going to go to university. And I studied film and animation, and I did that for numerous amount of years, and I got my degree, and I went for a massive change. And then I started to really get passionate about my community, and I started to identify with my youth again, of how I felt about my community and why I love my community. And one of the things that popped up was Millwall. Just how I remember being such a big Millwall fan when I was a kid, and loved going up to the ground. And I just thought, I've got to connect back with that. And I think part of my evolution and part of me being able to understand myself better was all due to those little nuggets, like helping my community and really getting in touch with Millwall. And then later, after that, after I'd finished university, I started a company, a community interest company called Rosex Media, and that was so great because there was during the time when Cameron just came into power, there was youth unemployment was at its lowest that it's ever been from since the 70s. Yeah. And Millwall spirit in me thought, no, actually, I'm going to actually try and combat this. And then I got in touch with the job centre. For 3 years I worked at the job centre, and I helped to reduce youth unemployment in the borough, in Southwark, Lambeth and Lewisham, on my workshops. And that was because I had the ability to gain young people's trust. Because
Fantastic achievement, Quince. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you've evolved and did what you did for the greater good. And a number of people have said that to me. He stands up for change. He stands up for change for the greater good. And those things that you've done there clearly demonstrate that you do. So, I've also seen you involved in the short media clips with the issue of knife crime and things like that. I mean, the work of Barry and Margaret Mizzen at Millwall following the death of their son Jimmy reflects that sort of stuff as well. But have you ever engaged with that couple?
Yeah, I haven't engaged with them, but that's a really sad story again, isn't it? About about how all these crimes being linked to youth deprivation and social deprivation, social economic deprivation. So I think I feel confident and pretty certain that we will link at some point, and I definitely would love to be linking with more organisations like the Jimmy Mizzen's Foundation to help combat knife crime, racism, whatever stigmas that are plighting our community as a whole.
Yeah. No, I think that'd be a good way forward for you. Let's take that jump. You said Millwall was a key factor in taking you and bringing you forward. So the documentary, Millwall Black and White, Portrait from the Terraces, is out there. How did that come about then?
Started from there's so much misrepresentation about Millwall, and there's so much negative press that I just thought it was my responsibility as not only as somebody from the community who supports the club, but somebody who's got a different identity that can break down the social stereotype of what you think a Millwall fan is. And I know, as I said, I've got so many friends that are Millwall fans and who are not racist, but yet still I do know a lot of Millwall fans who I know who are racist. And that to me was a reflection of society in itself, because I remember as a kid going to lots of other stadiums and grounds and hearing so much racism, not just at Millwall. So for me, it's like I grew up hearing, lots of clubs, the Arsenals, the Chelseas. I heard it all. So, for me, I just thought it was unfair, and I thought it would be in the club and in the community's interest to be a voice of some change. And I just thought as well that the club is being so severely damaged by people with such a far-right rhetoric, when in fact that ain't really a reflection of the community. So I just thought to myself, there's something needs to be changed there, and I knew that I'm going to probably be challenged by a lot of Millwall fans who would say that, but that's fine. I think ultimately I trust that I'm going to be respected enough because I do support Millwall, and everybody knows no matter what, I love the club and I love the community that we all come from.
Absolutely. I mean, what you say and how you go about and do what you do represents that all the time. So you were assistant director on the project?
Correct, yeah. So I helped to really give it that of what it means to be a Millwall fan. and I was very prominent in trying to make sure that the film had a certain feel that could really translate a positive message to Millwall, because I think people would have probably been very quick to look at this film and go, "There we go," it's the media again trying to, create a bad light on the club. So I was there to steer the film to, look at a lot of the positive things Millwall does, because I think it's a bit of a cliche now to just focus on the negative stuff of the past. And I think that, and what is sad as well, that there are so many Millwall fans, you probably know, there's so many Millwall fans who do not want to associate themselves with the negative, bigotry that comes from the club. There's so many, and I have so many conversations with people that go, I get hacked off with Millwall fans that do nonsense to put a bad light on the club, because it just damages the club. We don't get enough sponsors, not enough people from the community want to come down to the ground, so they're forced to go far out to southwest London to go and support a Premier League club. But there's not enough new support coming to the club.
I think one of the guys that brought some credibility to what Millwall does is Lord Herman Ousley, and he features in the documentary, and he makes some quite significant points about the issue of racism is bigger than one football club. And I suppose when I reflect upon that, it sticks in my mind that we must just be an easy target. How does that feel to you?
Yeah, I spoke to Jeff Burnage, and he was saying, one of the managers once said that Millwall was hired to hang its troubles on. And I think Millwall is exactly that. And I think partly Millwall has lived up to that reputation, but as well, that is a few people who have tried to live up, who have lived up to that reputation. I think if you really broke it down with other clubs, there's probably that fraction as well. But because of Millwall's notoriety, unfortunately, that's the first thing that they want to know what is negative coming from Millwall, because they know that is what is going to sell in the papers, that is what is going to sell in the news, that is what people are interested in. You know what I mean? People are not interested in Millwall doing good for the community. People are not interested in Millwall trying to get new talent from the community to play for them, and they don't see all that. They don't see all that. All society wants to know is what far right rhetoric coming out of Millwall. How can we continue to demonise them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I was to say to you, how would you sum up really, if you was telling someone or was trying to sell someone to watch Millwall Black and White, what would you say to them?
I think, to sum it up, I think it's the start of something. I think society has become so polarised at the moment, and I think society has now become very black and white in itself. And I think Millwall has made this film makes an attempt to actually try to bridge that discontent which is going on in society at the moment. And I think this film is a great example of that. And I think the fact that I am, as a black man, able to come on the radio, on a Millwall radio station and talk about my love for the club, my love for the community, my love for the fans, and my love for being a passionate fan myself, it is a step in the right direction. I think the fact that we're having conversations about this is far greater than any club is doing. I think at least we're standing up and talking about things, and actually not frightened to discuss the issues of race and divide and all of these things that are plighting the community and the club. A great representation of that. I think the film is a fantastic tool to create debates and have healthy discussions around identity and community and race and football in the 21st century.
I agree. I think looking at it, It certainly brings a lot of issues to the forefront, certainly developed my understanding of things, and friends and mine as well have said the same. I think it is the beginning of the conversation. What you said is absolutely right, and this conversation's got to go on and on. So what about the future?
Well, I being an ambassador for my community, and, I think I reflect that through being somebody who has been involved in gangs and crime, and somebody who also has connections to, working class culture as well as Caribbean and culture. So I think there's a beautiful crossover there for me to be able to really try to carry on building from, and continue trying to make films about Southeast London culture as a whole. And I think it's important that my films also have an association with the club, and I think every fan will be able to relate to the films that I make, or to be able to have a discussion around it. So I want to continue making films around, Millwall culture, South London culture, the West Indian experience in Britain today. I want to talk more about that stuff, because I think it's very important that this gets done, because, believe it or not, there has been even though there's a minority of fans, there's still a bit of a black influence in Millwall culture. If you mention to any fan Tiny, the first thing they do is like, bloody hell, they give me stories, how he saved them, what he was like, So I think that is something that needs to be recognised in itself.
Yeah, I think you've made some immensely great points there. There's no doubt about it that you stand up for change, for the greater good. You are that person that's almost a father figure, never mind a role model. You said that when you become a dad, it made a big difference. So you've triggered from that. I think we'd like to wish you the best with progressing all of this work, that there's the energy there to go forward, and we wish you well in that process. We'll have to come back to you again, Quince, further down the line, and I hope that the film is the beginning of that big conversation that needs to go on.
I think that there's going to be a screening happening as well on the 22nd. I believe it's going to be at the club.
Great.
But I'm very much, and also I've been speaking to somebody in Australia as well about having a screening too. I'm definitely interested also in having a screening myself as well, where the fans can come down and have a look at it, and can have a discussion again. So thanks for inviting me onto the show and allowing me to discuss, who I am and my links to Millwall.
Great stuff, Quince. We're delighted to have you on. Until the next time, then.
Until the next time.
Okay.
Mill! Thank you.
Well, that was Quince Garcia, and we'll be back shortly with Stan Godwin. So stand by. No One Likes Us Talking specials are sponsored by Dean Wilson, Independent Funeral Directors at Elton, Bromley and Locks Bottom. No One Likes Us Talking is also sponsored by Gary at Tower Design and Print Limited, WePrintAnyGift.com, Reliance South East Cleaning Services covering London, Kent and Sussex, Bexley Steel, Power Industrial Estate, Slade Green Road, Erith, and North East Millwall. You can find our sponsors' details online or at our website at noonelikesUsTalking.com. That is a talking without a G, and No One Likes Us Talking is all one word. That's noonelikesUsTalking.com. Well, today we also bring along one of the guys that featured in the Black and White Millwall, Stan Godwin. He also is a member of No One Likes Us team, and quite commonplace around many of the social media sites, both on Twitter and on Facebook. so he's familiar to many. Welcome, Stan.
Yeah, always good to talk to you, mate. Always good.
Good. We've obviously spoke with Quince and he's talked about the documentary. How did you get involved with it?
I got involved in it because I was going to the Goldsmiths College, the Open Book Project with Neil Bradley. What happened was we knew, because I knew Quince obviously from because we're on Twitter together. So I knew something was in the offing, but I didn't exactly know what it was. And we was aware of it up at the Open Book Project. And then I got the message that Quince was going to be up there with commentator. And that what you see in the film when we're all sitting in the class. That was our first introduction.
Were you aware of who else was involved?
Well, I knew that the only people that I did know that was likely to be involved, obviously apart from Ron Bell, well, I'd never ever spoken to him before or even come across him, but then he could sit in another part of the ground for where I've seen. So that was the only one I didn't know.
Conversations that you had and viewing the years gone by, black players, black fans, etc. How did that translate, do you think, into the documentary itself?
Well, in actual fact, it was, from my point of view, Eamon, it was quite interesting because I was hearing stories there like from the likes of Ron Bell, and there was a couple of other black guys on there that I'd never heard before, right? And so from that point of view, it was an education for me because I was suddenly sitting here hearing things. I thought, well, blimey, I've never heard that one before. But no, it was in actual fact, it was an eye-opener. It goes a long way, in my view, to sort of destroying the stereotype about Millwall fans. I think there's a lot more to be done on that front anyway, racism in football in general anyway. So hopefully it's a bit of a foundation we've laid.
A foundation. What else would you anticipate? Do you think the club should get involved? Do you think others should get involved?
Well, I do certainly think the club should get involved. I mean, I don't know whether they've seen this. I'm assuming at the moment they haven't, and they should make an effort to have a look at it. And whether the Millwall Supporters Club have had a look at it as a body, I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine that no members of that have not looked at it at all. I mean, I'd find that frankly hard to believe if that was sold to me.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense what you're saying. It is of interest to all of the bodies that support Millwall. I mean, Lord Herman Ousley was part and parcel of it as well. So I think taking it forward and maybe using it in some other effective ways.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, I was just looking at some things, Eamon, before we come on, and if you said to the average person in the street, how many black players you think Millwall fans have voted player of the season, I mean, they would look at you as if you'd come from Mars. They'd think, what are you talking about? Millwall supporters don't vote black players. Take, for example, I mean, back in 2002-03 season, it was Tony Warner. And then we had 2006-2007, you had Richard Shaw. And that was an achievement for him because he was an ex-Crystal Palace player. And as we know, Crystal Palace has never been our greatest allies. But then you see, from 2010, we then had Sam McAnder-Weary. The following season, Jimmy Abdu. And then the following year after that, we had Danny Situ. And then the following year, you then had David Fall, Jimmy Abdu again. And then the following season, we then had Jordan Archer. So in sort of 7 years, we've had 6 black players. Now, if you went out and told that to people, you'd think we was on drugs or something. They wouldn't believe it, but it's true.
Yeah, 6 black guys and 1 Irishman. That's quite incredible.
Well, yeah. Be reading the book of the 3 degrees about Cunningham, Brendan Batson and Cyril Regis. And I mean, that book, in fairness, it doesn't just deal with them, all those, but it deals with racism in football in the 70s and that. I mean, I sat there reading that and I couldn't believe at times what I was reading. I never thought for a minute it was as bad as that. Every club was going through it. I mean, I read a piece where John Barnes, he said when he played for Watford, he went to Liverpool and got racially abused.
Yeah.
And he ended up playing. I mean, thankfully, we're a long way from that now. Continue, in my judgment anyway, to make sure that we carry on with this trend, that we get rid of it, if that's conceivably possible.
Yeah.
But that book was a real eye-opener to me.
Well, books, the documentary feels a big part of that as well, because I think it's got good value. Well, thanks for that, Stan.
No, certainly.
Lovely to talk to you.
No problem, mate.
And we'll talk again. Interesting times. Listening to Quince and Stan makes you wonder what's going to happen in the future. Is it the platform to take things forward? Is it that conversation that needs to start. Well, I'm sure we'll hear more, and we'll get back to you as developments come along. Thanks for listening.